Philosophers are, as a rule, people who are not especially quick at the uptake. On the contrary, you have to explain everything to them. An example, if I say, if some friend tells me, well, today the sun is shining, the normal people will react by saying, okay, I won't have to take my brolly with me. Philosophers answer by saying, well, what do you mean exactly with is? What's the precise meaning of the verb to be, and so on? Well, this is precisely what I'll be doing, by reminding you that time has three dimensions. One is central, i.e. the present, and the other two sort of surround it. Of the past, we have some knowledge, albeit a partial and often obscure one. But we are pretty confident that it existed. On the other hand, we have not the foggiest idea of the future. We can imagine what will be the case in the form of dreams or nightmares. But we are not even sure that such a thing as the future will exist in the first place. Our individual future will end with our death. As for the collective future of large groups, such as our family, our country, our civilization, nay, mankind in its whole, some unexpected catastrophe may wipe everything away. Or more probably, some slow and silent process of extinction may set in. As for action, the only time in which we can do things is the present. Furthermore, by our present action, we can shape the future, whereas we can't possibly change the past. Not even the gods can do that. On the other hand, we can change our knowledge of the past. Our only source are the traces which it left. We can improve our knowledge of it by a more careful scrutiny of those traces and by a deeper understanding of their meaning. But we can act on our image of the past by different means. We can decide to ignore some traces while choosing to keep some other ones which we will heavily focus on, thereby producing a lopsided view of what happened. For instance, we can make of an exception a rule. We can interpret some traces in a definite light. We can foist on past events value judgments grounded on our present assumptions about what is right or wrong. This could be a merely academic problem, the exclusive neighborhood of professional historians. Why does this matter for the average citizen? In order to answer this question, let us shift from a merely static view of the three dimensions of time to a dynamic one. The present is the result of the past. What is the case now is the result of what happened earlier. And this holds good for the whole state of the universe since the Big Bang. This holds good for living beings since the warm little pond which Darwin dreamt of as having been the place where life began. This holds good for mankind since the first steps of hominization, and for history since writing was found, and so on. Conversely, the future will be the result of the present, which is sort of pregnant with it. As for our history, what will happen tomorrow depends on the decisions we take today. But the decisions we take today depend on the image we have of ourselves, of what we are, and of what sort of task we have to accomplish in order better to fulfill who we are. And this image depends on what we know or believe to know about what shaped us, i.e. about our past. Some people want to get back to a previous state of affairs. Some want to keep the present one. Other ones want to improve it or to replace it in order to foster a better future by making a clean slate of the past. But all of those kinds of people have a certain view of the past. The former see it in a positive light, the latter in a negative one. We either want to further what was done or to improve it, and in some cases, to cancel it. In order to do that, we must have an idea of what was the case. And this idea must tolerably tally with what really took place. Well, I'm rather optimistic on this point. Well, in George Orwell's masterpiece, The Dystopian 1984, there is a slogan which captures the gist of totalitarian policy. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Paradoxically, this formula of an utterly insane worldview is an almost word-for-word quotation from a manifesto in favor of a cool scientific outlook. A manifesto which was penned by a fellow countryman of mine, the French mathematician and philosopher Auguste Comte, the harbinger of what he called positivism. That's a word he coined himself. Quote, the doctrine, well, that's a rather bombastic style, but okay, the doctrine which will have sufficiently explained the past in its whole will unavoidably gain the intellectual leadership of the future. From Comte to the ideology described in Orwell's Nightmare, a shift took place in our relationship to the past, from explanation, according to Comte, to control. That's Orwell's ANCSOC slogan. Mastery of the past makes mastery of the future possible. Hence, the relevance of the fight about history. The way in which we produce a narrative of what happened heavily influences the way in which we imagine, plan, and prepare the future. Nay, it shapes it. If the past is totally forgotten, the future will become impossible. So Edmund Burke, quote, people will not look forward to posterity who never look backward to their ancestors. This pithy formula was echoed by Tocqueville. Democracy, quote, democracy not only makes that each man forgets his forebears, but it conceals from him his offspring. If the past is hopelessly distorted, the future will be maimed too. If our knowledge of the past is warped, our project for what should come afterwards will assume monstrous features. By paying heed to our view of the past, and by trying to gain a sane view of it, we are not indulging in any form of nostalgia. On the contrary, we pave the way for a better future. And this is what the present-day conference is all about. We are not looking backwards in order to dream of some restoration of a previous state of affairs. We are looking forward. But in order to do that with a clear sight, we have to restore, and I quote again this controversial verb, we have to restore a true, a sane, a fair view of the past. Well, since I was rather brief, let me give you some examples. I promised those examples in the discussion. Well, okay, let me do that right now. I quoted among the different tricks and traps by which, well, let's say, unfair historians try to give their view, to foist on us their view of the past, the trick which consists in selecting things, in making of an exception a rule. It so happens that in the present-day educational system in my own country, there are textbooks on history for young people who attend high schools. And, well, I happen to have devoted some time to the study of Islam. I published a book on this topic a matter of 2 years ago already. And, well, I was given the opportunity to observe to what extent the view of the past history of Islam is distorted. And, well, in the textbooks I was alluding to, there are chapters about the Arab conquest of the Middle East. And well, in each and every book of this kind, there is a quotation from a medieval historian explaining that the Arabs entered a city and they were welcomed by songs and dances. And this became the general view about the Arab conquest. Now, I happen to have read the book, the original book of history written by a Muslim of the 12th century, if my memory serves me right, by the name of Baladuri. The title of the book is Book of the Conquest of Countries. And there is this story. I will conclude with the end of my story. Thank you so much. Well, the book consists of 2 heavy volumes, which I read from cover to cover. And there is one example. This is the exception. And some people, for some reason, make of this exception the rule.